Welcome to the Jameela Adams Experience podcast. This is a place to be if you're a woman over 40 who wants to feel inspired, empowered, and heard. Jameela Adams, your host, will be talking about how to find joy and happiness in the face of life's challenges. So come and join the experience.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining this week's episode. I'm so glad you're here. If you don't mind, don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe to the podcast. I greatly appreciate it. And this year we're doing the Better Me, Better You series, and it's more or less about how can we improve our lives and the lives of others, and just focusing on our mental, physical, spiritual, and financial health. Throughout the year, I will be having solo shows and also guests on the program. And this week, we're going to have someone who I've met previously, and they're really a beautiful soul, very loving, very kind, and just wanting others to be that way, not only for themselves, but to others as well. So our guest today is Ebi Diete-Spiff, and she is a love and relationship coach. She supports professional women to help them build their self-esteem. And who does not need their self-esteem built? Trust me, I'm there. We need to be empowered and move confidently in our current roles. So that's what she does. And so I'm so happy to have Ebi on the show. If you don't mind, just pull forward, listen to her, and she's going to be dropping gems for us today. So Ebi, let's go ahead and give us a little detail about who you are and what you do.
Thank you, Jameela, for inviting me on. So a little bit about myself. I don't know where you want me to start from. Like you said, I'm a self-love and transition coach. So I work with mindset, on the mindset of individuals to help them to move confidently into whichever goals they want to go into. So to empower themselves by dealing with their limiting beliefs, because that tends to block us sometimes, our limiting beliefs. So I help women, professional women, 40 plus, to do that. And that's it in a nutshell.
Right. So how long have you been doing this, Ebi?
I started as a coach around 2014, but I had a full-time job, so it kind of was like a side job. I'm now doing this permanently, full-time. I started first as a health and nutrition coach because I had issues with my health. And so when I found my solutions, I decided to go into that. But then I had previously been in an abusive relationship. And so I thought, okay, so why? Why do I keep repeating the same pattern? And realized that it was to do with self-esteem and self-confidence. And that was because I did not love who I was. And so I found out that the bottom line of most of the issues that we have is about self-love. So we always want to do for other people, but we forget ourselves. And that just leads you to burnout. But when you love yourself and you learn to love yourself, it's just comes so naturally, and you find that it's expansive. Love is expansive, and you love even the littlest creature, like a little ant or a bug or anything like that. And your love just grows and it just swells through love of self.
Good.
So yeah.
So when you do your counseling and talk with people and your coaching, what steps and services do you offer to get them through to the other side of learning to love themselves more?
So it's about, I think the key thing is about awareness, because a lot of times we know ourselves through our identities. Right. So I'm a mother, I'm a teacher, I'm a daughter. Right. That's just identity. That's not the true self. So it's teaching them to understand the authentic self, which is more of a spiritual journey. So to go within and understand who you really are and how powerful you really are, and what you can really achieve. So it's about going within and doing that work. Also understanding all parts of you, because we live in a world of dichotomy. So where you have one, you'll have the opposite. So you have good and bad.
Right.
pretty and not pretty. Everything has its opposite.
Right.
So it's about teaching people to focus on the positives, and also within ourselves we have our opposites. So
Right.
you might choose to present your good side, so you're a good person, whatever good is, but certain situations can bring out the opposites, which you probably were not even aware that you had. So you can be pushed to, or be in a situation where you don't even recognize who you are anymore.
Right.
So it's about understanding that about you, so that your shadow self or your blind spots. So you understand that and you love all that part of you. That's very important. And another thing that's really important that I've found is that the world is our mirror.
Right.
So what we see externally is usually what's going on internally. So it's a sign. So when you have, I'm not saying somebody who's horrible to you or mean to you is excused, but if you get triggered by certain things, it means there's something that you need to work on within. So either you might be projecting, or it might be something that you like about who you want to be, but you feel that you're not achieving. So if you get triggered, it's something where you need to go within and think, okay, why is this? Where has it come from? How? And then start working on it. Once you recognize that, it's easy to work on. But if you don't recognize that's going on with you, then that's more difficult to work on. So it's teaching people to be, not teaching, but like working with people and guiding them to be more, and coaching them to be more aware of what's actually going on within. And sometimes it could be from, they say 0 to 7 years, but I found that it can be before that. I found out things about myself that my DNA was formed from when I was in the womb.
Right.
Yeah. Because what my mother was feeling was ingrained in my own DNA, and in my own neurology. And I just found that out after more than 60 years. I realized, because I went within and did the work, I realized that I was having some guilt and had been carrying guilt, which unconsciously was affecting some of my behaviors.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So basically, it's all about you. I know we think it's about other people, but it's all about you.
Right.
And the improvement comes about when you learn to love yourself. You find that a lot of things that used to trigger you probably won't trigger you anymore. You'll have more understanding and more empathy. Yeah.
So in the process of working these out with your clients, what do you find to be the most enjoyable part of what you do? I mean, obviously seeing a client have a major breakthrough on what's been triggering them and learning how to love themselves more and understanding themselves more, but how does that translate to you? How do you find the enjoyment in what you do?
Yeah, again, it's like we suffer sometimes unnecessary. Well, I don't know if it's unnecessarily. I guess it's part of our growth. But we suffer sometimes because of maybe the guilt and the hurt, because guilt and shame, yeah, and all those negative feelings, and we suffer. We put ourselves through a lot of pain when we need not to, because a lot of things that we go through, it's just a learning, an opportunity to grow. And yeah, mistakes, we label mistakes as negative, but they're not really negative, because unless you keep doing them over and over again, then but if you learn from them and you grow from them and learn to forgive and have compassion for yourself, because I find that when you say you have a target to, for instance, lose weight, and you eat the wrong thing, then you start beating yourself up about eating the wrong thing. I say, enjoy it. If you fall off the wagon, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Because I think that the more you beat yourself up, that causes stress. And that's counter negative, because when you're stressed out, then your hormones and everything are haywire. You feel guilty, and then you find out that you're eating more, you're doing the stuff that's not good for you.
Right.
So yeah, just finding more compassion for yourself. And as you do that, you're able to find more compassion for others. It's weird how it works, but it does work. So as you start to understand yourself and love yourself more, you just find out that it's easier to love others. And people say, is self-love not selfish? And I think, well, if you love other people, what's wrong with loving yourself?
Exactly.
And it's exactly, and it's not selfish because it's not external, it's not materialistic. It's more about, I believe we're all one. So if you're being horrible to somebody else, you're actually being horrible to yourself, and that's why you don't feel good about. You might feel good for a day or two, but in the end you won't feel good, because what you do to other people, you're actually doing to yourself, because I think we're all energetic beings and we're all connected as one. So being kind to yourself helps you to be kind to others. And I guess when you're mean to other people or you're not very nice, it's one of the symptoms that you're not nice to yourself. And that's one thing I've got to understand, that people who are not very nice, it's because they're suffering inside.
Right.
So they're projecting.
Yeah, they're projecting.
Yeah. And it's not a conscious thing they're doing, but it's just the way we work.
Right. And you're right. It is like a reflection on how you want to project positivity towards others. It doesn't always mean it's going to be received. And I think that's the downside. Honestly, it's like we can smile at someone as they're walking down the street because we're genuinely feeling good that day. And then sometimes we have that experience to where people look at us like, ew, don't smile at me. Or and because it's happened, but it's just one of those things that they're projecting because they don't know what it's like to be genuinely happy, or we just caught them on a bad day and they don't know how to respond. And that's what I find, that no matter what, you always try to leave the house with a smile, no matter how jacked up or janky things are before you leave the house, but at least try to walk out the door with a smile, because you never know, you may change somebody's life with a smile.
Exactly. That smile, maybe the person was suicidal, and that smile could make that person have hope and change their minds. You just don't know. And so I just find, and the thing with loving yourself is your confidence grows. It's weird. It really does grow, because once you start to find out who you really are, you start to realize how it's very empowering, and you start to realize how strong you are and what you can achieve and what you can do. And even if you go and do that thing and somebody else puts you down, it's like water off a duck's back, as they say. You don't take it personally. You don't take, because you don't see it as your problem. You probably have more compassion for the other person, and you because you know who you are. So when you know who you are, nobody can put you down. Nobody. Because you know and you're sure.
Because that's what you do. You have that confidence, and when you step out and you just have that inner glow, that peace, you should be able to project that. Anything positive, you should want to project that, nothing negative. I mean, but we all have our bad days, but even when we have our bad days, try to still have a smile, because honestly, and I believe this to be true, somebody's bad day, your bad day could be someone's good day. Because that's something, you have something that somebody else doesn't have. You never take this life for granted, because there are a lot of people out there that have it worse off than you. And I always try to keep that in mind. It's like, if I'm having a bad day or something just doesn't sit well with me, I always have to put myself in that position where, like, it's not as bad as you think it is. There's something you can overcome. Right now, it just seems like it's a challenge, a difficulty, but you can get through it. And I have to keep reminding myself of that. And I'm pretty sure you do the same thing, correct?
Yeah, and another thing that I really found, and I've tested this for a few years now,
Mm-hmm.
we are energetic beings, so we're kind of like magnets to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the tricks that I use to find out when I'm being negative is if you keep getting negative people towards you, that's what you're attracting.
Mm-hmm.
Like Stephen Covey said, we see the world as we are.
Right.
So when you keep getting people that are negative, it's because something's going on inside you, which you're probably not aware of, because we're 95% subconscious and 5% conscious. So
Right.
there's a lot of things that happens within us that we're not aware is going on. So our conscious mind processes 134 beats per second. Our subconscious mind processes 2 million beats per second.
Right.
So there's a lot going on that we're not aware of. So if somebody's, I keep meeting a lot of negative people, maybe calling you negative names or doing negative things,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on inside? And you find out that as you start to work on that and you change that, that will change.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said at the beginning, in the world there's duality. So there are people that are negative and equally people who are positive. And when you are positive within,
Mm-hmm.
that energy that on that magnet attracts those type of people, and that's what you see coming around you.
Right.
Whereas the opposite, and so we have to be very sensitive that it's all about you. Everything is about you. So
Right.
if there's a lot of negative people coming around you, what's going on in your subconscious? And that's it's a very difficult thing to work on, because we haven't really been trained to focus on our subconscious. We just focus on the mind and body. So the subconscious mind and the body. But there's another part to us, which is the subconscious mind, and which is what controls us. So that controls our breathing,
Mm-hmm.
that controls our heartbeat, that controls everything we've ever heard in our lives or seen. Because there are things that you see and your brain hasn't recognized it. And things like I remember when I was growing up, my mother always used to say, money doesn't grow on trees.
Right.
So I grew up as an adult, and I wonder why I've got this bad relationship with money.
Right.
I'm thinking that, so my subconscious mind is calculating that money is hard to get. It's a difficult thing to get money.
Right.
So no matter how hard I try, if I haven't dealt with that in my subconscious, it's always going to be difficult to get money.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't grow on trees.
Right. So and that would be the downside of trying to change or trying to work on with others, is because you have to work on the negative stuff, this negative stuff in our subconscious. So that is a difficult thing to change. Do you think that is hard to change?
It is hard to change, and that's why a lot of people do affirmations and they think, why isn't it working?
Mm-hmm.
Because you do the affirmation, but if your subconscious mind will probably say, oh no, you can't do it because A, B, C, and D.
Mm-hmm.
And it's being able to change that, and that's through the feeling. So what you feel, and you but sometimes it's difficult to go through that block. And this is one of the things that maybe a therapist can help with. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things that I can also help with in that. So you go to the path, you go backwards, mm-hmm. and let go. So you need to let go of those limiting beliefs. I am ugly. I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
She's better than me. Those sort of feelings that are there. Imposter syndrome.
Right.
So it's being able to find out where it's come from.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to relive the experience. And through some certain type of questioning, you can let it go.
Right.
And once you let it go, you find out that it becomes easier. And I recently I went and I did something, got some training, and I let it go, and then I went back. Oh, fear of heights. Mm-hmm. So for me, I've always been scared of heights, and I found out that it was. I don't know if you've heard about the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Yes.
So when I was a child, I lived in Italy for a year, mm-hmm. and my parents took me to the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and they said we should climb to the top. And as a child of 6 years old, I kind of thought, how is it possible that that building is not going to fall down? I mean,
Right.
that was when you could go, when you could climb it. I don't think you can do that now. And I think I had that fear of falling, which is my fear of heights. And I got that dispelled a few months ago.
Okay.
And now before I couldn't climb, like the overhead bridges. I don't know if you've seen you go. So I could not go over an overhead bridge.
Right.
No way. I would get halfway and I'd have to come down. And a few weeks ago, I tested it out because I did this a while back, but I had never tested my fear of heights. And I went, as I was going up the bridge, I went within me and I thought, I was trying to look for the fear and it was not there.
Okay.
It wasn't there. And I went across and I thought, yeah.
Awesome.
I was so excited. So, those sort of things that can hold us back from having fun and having a good life, or even moving forward in our careers. Sometimes we're scared because of things that are there and we don't really understand are there. So it's being able to let it go. And I remember I read a book that was in 2018 or 2019, and it's a Dr. Hawkins. I can't remember his first name, and in the book is Letting Go. And he talks about how you just need to be able to let it go. You don't need to relive the experience. You just need to know it's there and being able to release it, and then you find out you can move forward. So there are different techniques that people use or that are used to help people to overcome their limiting beliefs.
Okay.
So we're like an onion, so you can peel it, because I find out now. But because I know the techniques, so when I get something new that comes, I think, oh, why am I feeling that way?
Right.
I know what to do to help me through.
Okay. Well, Ebi, where can we contact you to learn more about your techniques and how to do better about ourselves as far as loving ourselves, building ourselves up? How can we contact you?
So I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I'm also on Instagram. I am currently building my website, and I'll be launching my blog by the third week in May.
Okay.
So and also I'll be launching a newsletter. So I will put things in there. So.
Okay, awesome. I would definitely like for you to come back so we can get an update on your website and everything like that, and also your newsletter. So I definitely would like to have you come back to talk about that. So as we come to a close of the show, I always talk to my audience, and I always want to have them feel good about themselves and build community, because that's what we're doing here. So when I close, I always ask or say, I want you to be inspired, be inspiring, be encouraged, be encouraging, but most of all, I want you to be you. And we'll definitely chat again next week. And Ebi, thank you again for being a guest, and I look forward to seeing you again as well.
Thank you.